As it was in the beginning, is now, and will be my home state synopsis. Good evening. My name is Tom Regan. I'm named after my grandfather, Thomas Francis Regan, who was an engineer on the railroads that brought goods and services in and out of the mines in the early part of the last century. And I want to thank you all for being here. This is important that we capture these stories, as reluctant as some of us speakers are. But wow, being back here in the Homestake Opera House brings back so many memories as I look around. It is here that I had my first date watching a movie with my high school sweetheart, now wife of 50 years. It's here I had one of my first jobs as a movie projectionist, and it is here we've seen the renewal following the fire that nearly destroyed such a wonderful gem of a theater and centerpiece of Lee. This synopsis is a dedication, honoring the past and looking to the future, to the first Americans who still to this day call these hills sacred, to the countless who migrated and settled here and built the houses, businesses, and places of worship many we still can see today. To the thousands of miners who worked this land, especially to those who lost their lives from the 1880s to the 1990s, the last decade there was a fatality, working for a stake in their future, their home stake. And to those pioneers of science who saw the innovations of their time and time to come, and the deep space available to explore the universe. In 1969, I began to work for Homestake, working straight nights while attending school during the day at Black Hills State University and supporting my family, wife Diana, my two children, Michelle and Jennifer. This November it will be 50 years since I started working at the Homestake mine. In 1971, during a labor strike, to go from 6-day week to a 5-day work week, I was drafted for 2 years into the Army Security Agency stationed in the Republic of Turkey during the Vietnam era, but returned to school and the mine immediately following and have stayed ever since. During my employment, I have worn many hats, starting, as was said, an underground student laborer, a locomotive operator, a miner, a heavy equipment operator operating a borehole machine working for Robert Whitey Enderby, and a scheduler. Also a mine services planner, including helping on special projects like sinking number 4 winds and number 7 winds, the installation of the 6,950-foot level ventilation plant, and other projects that were associated with deepening the gold mine to over 8,000 feet. Since 1978, a passion has been and continues to be to this day my enthusiasm and association with the Mine Rescue Emergency Response Team. From 1998 through 2003, Homestake began laying off workers. During that time, I was the cleanup closure foreman. These were difficult times for the mine and the community as so many employees were laid off. The mine closed in 2003 and allowed to start filling up with water, and Lee's prosperity began to decline. Even from 2000, even as we were going through the cleanup closure process, visionaries had the idea that we could go back underground, repurpose the mine as a deep underground science and engineering laboratory. South Dakota Science and Technology Authority would eventually secure the former Homestake gold mine property for development into the Sanford Underground Research Facility into a world-class laboratory and education outreach campus, thanks to the generous donation from philanthropist T. Denny Sanford. As water began to fill up the mine starting in 2008, we re-entered. I remember our initial walkthrough inspections to determine conditions. Getting back underground after the mine closed, that was such an awesome feeling. As we went out, we had a safety plan, and we would take telephone wire with us as in backpacks, and every 500 feet, we would call back to the shaft attendant. On February 19th, 1982, there was an underground mine fire between the 6050 and 5900 levels in South Nine Ledge. Immediate response was to evacuate the mine. We notified the miners from all levels by dumping stench into the air intakes. That's the same smell the gas companies inject to warn you of a leak at your home. All except 22 people made it to the top within 1 hour. The 22 were sheltered in place in a fresh air base located on the 5,000 below number 5 air intake shaft near number 4 winds. A mine rescue team went to number 4 winds wearing their self-contained breathing apparatus. One stayed with the hoist operator who was in a supplied air breathing system. 2 attended at the shaft, and 2 of us got the miners off the 5,000, and we all went from 4 winds to the surface via the gate shaft without incident as they wore their self-rescuers. Miners carry a personal protective equipment called a self-rescuer, a filter respirator that separates the carbon monoxide out of the air if there is any. Other mine rescue team members working multiple shifts on multiple levels built walls and installed pipe to isolate and extinguish the fire. The fire was started from a piece of hot slag that fell behind the wood supports and the attached metal draw chute a maintenance worker was repairing on the 6050 level. It smoldered in between shifts until it caused the timbers to burn 150 feet straight up to the 5900 level. Because of smoke and carbon monoxide, teams on both levels had to wear rebreathers called self-contained breathing apparatus, or SCBAs. During the initial inspection on the 5900, we had water hoses spraying on us to keep us cool as we entered the crosscut. The smoke was thick, but we could see the track ties near the top of the raise glowing red. It was hot, dangerous work, and took about 3 days to complete, running sand and water backfill solution to extinguish and finally clear the mine and resume production. There were no injuries and minimal damage to property and limited production delays. 79 home state mine rescue and support employees were directly involved in the recovery operation. Their names are listed in the lead daily call of March 1st, 1982, with a letter from the general manager. Another underground mine rescue mission I was part of happened March 23rd, 1993. It's a story about teamwork and people caring for others in adverse conditions. It is also a story about the professionalism of all involved, backed up by a lot of training and practice. An experienced miner was attempting to unplug a hang-up of ore in a drop raise on the 6950, which is like a gravity-fed silo, only in the rock between levels. He was clearing rock from the top of the raise by hand and poking with a bar. He had a safety rope on and started that was laid out in front of him. The hole gradually began to open up. As he probed around, he hit something and the rock moved, funneling downward. He grabbed for the rope as he was sliding and ended up trapped in the hole itself. He yelled every now and then for help, moving his legs a little. His mining partner returned to find him trapped in the raise and went to get help, including calling for the mine rescue team. When we arrived on the scene, we found the supervisor and the helper down in the hole, starting to get him out. Wood supports and platform was built around and above his head to work from. The rescue team continued to carefully free him, putting the rock into 5-gallon buckets and relaying it out of the hole. More mine rescue members arrived on the scene with emergency medical technicians. Rope rescue specialists on the team started setting up the rope rigging and made ready to extract him from the hole. Once enough rock was removed down to his chest, a body harness was placed on him and attached to the rope rigging to help secure him, which was used to lift him up, out, over to the waiting EMTs. The miner had a full recovery and was able to return to work, and lessons learned helped with continued improvements. Since that time, I have been a safety officer, mine rescue trainer, and consultant for the Sanford Lab, a job we take very seriously and continue to work tirelessly, including to establish relationships with area agencies to ensure the highest levels of environmental health, safety, and security. My vocation at Homestake and serve is part of my personal avocation as an ordained deacon in the Episcopal Church. The Christian message of love and reconciliation is a core value in my small part of the legacy and future of the Homestake Mine and Sanford Underground Research Facility. Homestake mined over 44 million ounces of gold, providing employment and a way of life, a good way of life, for a lot of people a long, long time. We are only a slice of the story. There was a lot longer past, and there is an exciting future ahead of us. Every time I go underground, it's just such an honor to be part of this project. We mined almost 126 years, and now have nationally and internationally recognized science, outreach, and education over another decade. A lot of good things have happened in this community because of this mine, and a lot has been taken out of this good earth. Now, like the renewal of this Homestake Opera House, our generation has the opportunity to give back to these great Black Hills. As it was in the beginning, is now and will be our Homestake story. Thank you.